Okay, so I do want to read this article that everyone keeps referencing. So, women are happier without children or a spouse, says a happiness expert. Behavioral scientist Paul Dolan says traditional markers of success no longer apply. Unmarried, childless women have never had it so good. We may have suspected it already, but now the science backs it up. Unmarried and childless women are the happiest subgroup in the population. Yeah, that makes sense. And they are now more likely to live longer than their married and child-rearing peers, according to a leading happiness expert. Speaking at the Hay Festival on Saturday, Paul Dolan, a professor of behavioral science at the London School of Economics, said the latest evidence showed that the traditional markers used to measure success did not correlate with happiness, particularly marriage and raising children. We do have some longitudinal data following the same people over time, but I'm going to do a massive disservice to that science and just say, if you're a man, you should probably get married. If you're a woman, don't bother. Men benefited from marriage because they calmed down, he said. You take less risks, you earn more money at work, and you live a little longer. She, on the other hand, has to put up with that and die sooner than if she never married. The healthiest and happiest population subgroup are women who never married or had children. Dolan's latest book, Happy Ever After, cites evidence from the American Time Use Survey, which compared the levels of pleasure and misery in unmarried, married, divorced, separated, and widowed individuals. Other studies have measured some financial and health benefits in being married for both men and women on average, which Dolan said could be attributed to higher incomes and emotional support, allowing married people to take risks and seek medical help. However, Dolan said men showed more health benefits from tying the knot, as they took fewer risks, and women's health was mostly unaffected by marriage, with middle-aged married women even being at higher risk of physical and mental conditions than their single counterparts. I'm going to save that for another video, but that's true. Despite the benefits of a single childless lifestyle for women, Dolan said that the existing narrative that marriage and children were signs of success meant that the stigma could lead some single women to feel unhappy. If you see a single woman of 40 who has never had children, bless, that's a shame, isn't it? Maybe one day you'll get the right guy and that'll change. No, maybe she'll meet the wrong guy and that'll change. Maybe she'll meet a guy who makes her less happy and healthy and die sooner. Yeah, so, oh my gosh, like, as a person who's been, oh gosh, in a lot of relationships, I will say this. There are men in the world who are waiting to tie you down. Like, I will tell you guys this story. Like, in my first relationship it was like in my third relationship when I was like living with my partner or whatever, he did this awful thing. And when I tell this story, sometimes I tell the story to like guys just to like put their feet on the ground about how dangerous things can be for women. So like, I wasn't working. I'd moved away. I moved out of my family home and in with this guy, right? So I was doing quite a lot. Like, I was, trying to learn how to cook. I was, he had this expectation that I was gonna like clean the home every single day, all of these things. And, I was like very frustrated because like he was very mean and he was like very demanding of sex. And so when I basically was like, I don't want to have sex with you anymore. Like, and so I moved into like the master bedroom and I made him sleep on the couch, right? And so what he did in response to that is he stopped like buying food for the house. So the house had no food. And so every day he would go to work and then he would send me photos of him eating lunch. And so there would be no food in the house, and then I would have to see a photo of him eating his lunch at work. it was a fucking miserable time for me. Like, if I think about it now, you know, maybe I should have just gone to get food stamps and like gone to a pantry or reached out and talked to a friend about it. But there was a lot of things about social isolation that were happening where I honestly felt like, now this guy is my life. Now I don't need my friends anymore. I don't need this additional community because now I'm living with him, so now he's my life. And it turned out my life got drastically worse. It got so much worse. Like, I was so unhappy. I was so alone. My life condition was just awful. It was so bad. It was so bad. And I had never heard other women talk about that experience. So I didn't know that was like real or possible. It is. You could get into a really bad relationship with a guy and your life could potentially get a lot worse. And there's all of these, a very high possibility for domestic violence and domestic abuse. In that relationship, like, he would consistently yell at me, like, a lot. Like, he was very, like, he had a violent yell. And he was he was bigger than me. He was like twice my size. So like, he never actually hit me, but it got to a point where like he was pretty close. Like, at one point I tried to like run away from him and he chased me into the master bedroom, and I locked the door. I closed the door and locked it, and he like literally kicked the door down and just started like screaming at me. He was just like, and I was just like, oh my fucking God, like, this is frightening. Like, I am not happy here. So I just literally got in my car and drove back to my mom's house, and I just left. I left. And I went back to that relationship a few times, but I learned a very valuable lesson from that relationship. And this was the first lesson that I learned. Like, as a woman, you really need education, and you need skills in society. You just need enough skills to be able to get a job. And so getting a job at like McDonald's or Subway or a fast food restaurant, like, those jobs are available. Like, go get that job if you need that job. But try to get something that earns more money. Like I said, I'm living a pretty minimal life, but I still need about like $5,500, like $6,000 a month to live happily. So, oh God, we aren't living in a time where it's safe for women to exist, okay? Like, a man can and might ruin your life, and you might have to deal with that shit, and that is hard, and it's scary, and it's real, and I just need more women to like actualize that experience.